Welcome to the show. I'm Doug Johnson, and this is The Business of Life, Strategies for Success. Each month, we host a wonderful guest who shares with us their strategies for success. And today, we have, I'm not quite sure what to call her, a humorist. She is humorous, an author, a fun person, the CEO and chief party girl of a company called Party 411. So you really have an idea about what they do. So today I'd like to welcome my friend, Sherri Foxman. Sherri, thank you so much for being here today.
Anything for you, Doug.
Oh, okay.
Anything.
Okay.
Except a party.
Okay. Okay.
Just kidding.
So you are an author.
Yes.
You've written a couple of books going back quite a ways. Not that far, but quite a ways.
Well, I'm only 20.
Well, and you know, I have here on my cheat sheet that you've only been in business around 15 years. So
Actually 25 years.
25.
25 years, yes.
Okay. You have written a book called The J Factor Male Jerk Counter.
Yes, I have.
And Classified Love, A Guide to the Personals.
And I did that as well.
And Two in Progress. It Must Be Prozac, 8 Million Reasons Why Half the World is on Prozac. And Dear Mom, Thanks for the Fat Cells.
Yeah, that's not real relevant as much as it was because I lost a lot of weight, but of course I was heavy when I was younger and it was totally her fault.
Okay.
I just want to put that out there, you know. Not that I blame my mother for things, but that was her fault.
Okay. Talk about, Sherri, if you would, the Classified Love Guide, because that I've heard you talk about and really is kind of intriguing.
Well, it was before there were such a thing as personals, and I had just broken up with this guy whose idea of a good time was, you know, in the company of a dress, you know, gambling and doing drugs, and I didn't do any of those things, and so I was kind of heartbroken, and I went down to Key West with my brother, and I picked up a Village Voice newspaper, and there were ads in there, but they were personal ads, but they were, you know, asking for leather, and, you know, they weren't just like, you know, the normal thing. And I said to my brother at the time, I said, you know, this is going to be the future. This is right here is the future. And he went, I said, yeah, well, you'll be sorry when I'm on the Today Show. And so I went home because I had it in my mind, and I decided to call up magazines in different cities and let me put personal ads in the city magazines. So I did, and I used Cleveland Magazine as well, and I got thousands of letters, and because, you know, at that time it was not a thing that heterosexual people were doing. And the biggest one was that I put in, I was a married woman looking for, you know, an affair, and I got over 10,000 letters.
Oh, geez.
And I want to tell you, I never knew that so many men own boats and planes. You know, I never knew that. Because
and we're wealthy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And in fact, at the time, my dentist answered me, you know, and I looked at the return address, you know, and they didn't know who they were writing to. It was just amazing. So that became a movie on CBS, and I was the first person, and I virtually started these columns in all these city magazines for personal ads.
Jeez. Yeah. Now, humor is a huge part of your life.
Yes, it is.
So tell us about why you think humor is important, and then I'd like to talk with you about your husband.
Okay. Well, speaking of humor, I think that I inherited a sense of humor. Maybe.
Okay.
I was very shy when I was young. I'm still shy. You know,
yeah.
I know you look
Hard
at me
to
like
believe.
this.
Yeah.
I know, but that's because I know you. But you know, if I go to a party, I'm in the corner. Literally, and it's hard to believe.
The wallflower.
Yes, so I've developed this kind of, you know, humor to get me through things, and also I get a thrill out of making people laugh. I just do, and it's run into my business, and you know, my outrageous sense of humor, we'll just put that in quotes, you know, kind of wins people over, and a lot of my clients, you know, expect nothing less from me.
Right.
And it's helped me, but it started out as really being a safety net.
Okay.
You know, to get me through things, because I was like, well, you better be funny. In fact, it started in 7th grade. I mean, I just want to entertain you a bit here. We moved from Elyria to Shaker Heights.
Okay.
It was quite the culture shock in 1962. And I looked around, and I was wearing like a T-shirt and saddle shoes and, you know, whatever. My hair was very frizzy and out. And the other girls were wearing papagallos, if you remember what those were. There are certain kind of... Sure, Doug. And they were a special type of shoe and training bras. And I looked around and I literally said to myself, you better be funny. And that's when it started, because I thought, if I can't laugh my way through this and make jokes, no one's going to like me. And that's when it started.
Okay, well, and you've continued that all through your life.
Yes.
And I'm particularly intrigued because I've heard it several times, but I love the story of how you married your husband.
Well, that was a direct result of Classified Love.
Okay.
When that book came out, I was a huge, no one had ever written a book about the personals, and I started this kind of movement, and I was talking all over. I was in every TV show, Oprah and Sally Jesse and all those ones that were back then. I did the Today Show, Good Morning America, and CBS Morning News all at once, which they never did, but it was a new subject.
Right.
They didn't like, they used to say they don't like old news, so, but I did them all, and I became like this Dr. Love, which is not what I wanted to be. I did not want to be Dr. Love, okay? I was a humorist, and I was making fun, and I was saying, my message was, you don't have to be married to be happy. So when I got home from my book tour, I did 32 cities. I decided that, everywhere I went, people would say to me, well, you're telling people to use personal ads, and I would be rich now if I started JDate or Match. And you're telling people to use personal ads, but you're not married. And I would say, no, I choose not to be married, but I'm certainly going out a lot, or whatever. And so when I got home, I decided I would get married. And then everybody couldn't say that to me, so I married a blow-up doll, because my friend said that that was the only man I'd get along with, because he only had one battery. Yes, he's a little full of hot air, but whatever. And we had this wedding that made national news, and it was in Playboy and Funky Winkerbean's, comic strip.
Cartoon strip, yeah.
And the other comic strip that's very, Jane from the Today Show, her husband, I can't remember what it's called now. He's not doing it anymore. But, I made all sorts of news, and I thought, wow, this is fun. And it was literally performance art. I had everybody come. I had 10 ushers, 10 bridesmaids. Everybody gave me duct tape, and vinyl repair kits. They all thought they were so original. I had like 40 of them.
Right.
And we had 225 people. 25 years later, for my 60th birthday, at the Winking Lizard in Bedford, where I married John, I did a 25th anniversary party. And of the 250 people there, 160 had been at the wedding in 1985. Geez. That's amazing.
It sure is.
Yeah,
it
and
sure
the
is.
chuppah, a chuppah is a cover at a Jewish wedding that they do, was 4 blow-up dolls tied together that they held over us. We had a very good time. We had we actually had, my friends gave me a shower, the men gave John a stag, and, it was just great fun, and it went on from there. I started doing those types of parties every year.
Wonderful. And then John ran for president in 1992.
He did in 1992, because I said if there was going to be a man in the White House full of hot air, because we had Clinton, Bush, and Perot, it should be my husband. And he ran on the platform of duct tape fixes everything. And we had rallies, and we had people with magnets on their cars, and bumper stickers, and we had lawn signs. I mean, he wrote position papers, and again, we made a lot of national news with that. But I was just trying, all my parties like those have a serious message. And I was really saying, this election is, at that time, that was, all anybody could talk about is no one is qualified.
Right.
And, so every party I've done, the Funeral for Casual Sex was a benefit for AIDS. It was in 1986, before they even knew condoms would be something that would prevent AIDS. And I was saying, if you don't believe casual sex is dead, it's your funeral. And I held a funeral, and at 800 people, we had to literally call the radio stations and say, stop promoting this.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I could have filled the stadium, and it's just that, but I wanted that message out there. But I think when you do it with humor, people get it better. They just, and so people came in all black, and I had a coffin, and you had to bring something to put in the coffin, and I had a microphone, and you could walk up and drop this thing in the coffin and say what it was, and one guy bought the back seat of his car.
Oh, gee.
Literally walked in with the back seat of his car.
Oh.
So my father put his nitroglycerin pills in the coffin. So, but it gives people a way to laugh, but at the same time, they all got the message.
They got the message.
Yeah, and the message was a serious one.
So do you think that in today's world, which seems to me to be so very much more serious,
yes,
that humor really is needed? We need to bring back humor.
Absolutely. I think that that people have, it's so interesting to me. These parties started literally 30 years ago that people still say to me, I was at the funeral, I was at the wedding, I was at the safe sex cotillion, I was at the rally you did for John running for president, I was at your Obama party. They actually remember it. And people have come over to my house with a box that has every single thing in it because I give a lot of stuff out that goes with the party when you come. And I can't believe that, I look at it and I say, wow, and they say, oh, why don't you do those again, and so, unfortunately you get busy in life, and I'm running a business and it's hard, and but right now I'm working on two different things that are more that type of message party, and hopefully I'll, be able to come back, so to speak. Although
sure.
All my friends are on walkers. Oh, just kidding. Oh, my God.
Now, who do you think is, if you had to name one person that you thought is a role model for you, who would that be?
Bette Midler.
Why?
She's funny. She's poignant. She's sensitive. And she's outrageous. She says what she thinks.
Right.
And and it goes back from her because she introduced me to Sophie Tucker. I knew who Sophie Tucker was, but Bette Midler does a whole thing about Sophie Tucker. Sophie Tucker's from the 20s and 30s. And when I listened to Sophie Tucker, I went, okay, I want to be this woman. And, that's just, I love her. I can sing all her songs. Do you want me to sing it? Oh, my man.
Sure.
Oh, wait, that's Barbra Streisand. But she does these great Sophie Tucker jokes. And, she's got that wind beneath her wings. What can I say?
Right.
She's great.
Oh, you're good. You're good. So you run a business.
I do.
How do you incorporate humor into your business?
Well, in writing the proposals and doing different, I work for as an event planner, and I work for nonprofit, I work for profit, and I also work for corporate. When I write the proposals and I write the menu signs, or I write for me, I get to be creative and I get to use humor in writing the menu sign so that people look at it and laugh, or what's on the cocktail napkin, and that's how I incorporate it into that. I also use it when it's a sales tool. Between you and me, when I came to a first meeting with you, with one of your groups that you're a member of, I was myself. A long time ago, I wouldn't have been like that. I would have walked in and been serious, and now it's like, this is who I am, and if you like me, hire me, and if you don't like me, don't hire me. And you guys, you got it, you were nice, and you said, wow, not only are we going to use her, she's going to be a good time to use her. I think that's important.
Right. I think that part of our interview process, if you will, was the match between you and us. So that's your business. How does that flow over into everyday life?
Well, I have an immense amount of friends, that kind of look to me for entertainment, which is easy because I have a father that's very entertaining, and so I tell those stories. But it's how I get through life. My business is so stressful. And, it's very time-oriented in terms of deadlines.
Sure.
I worry myself sick about every event. Everything is important to me. People don't appreciate creativity. And how do you get through life if you don't laugh at it? If I don't make a joke about everything that happens to me, I don't know that I do not drink. Okay, and I don't do actually anything. I don't do any types of drugs, and my whole life, my friends have always said, Sherri, we know you're on drugs. I'm like, no, this is it, baby.
This is the real me.
And people say to me all the time, I can't believe you don't drink because of the stress. I said, it's a good thing I don't drink. You guys are lucky. You'd be in trouble. So I use my sense of humor as I said before, a safety net. I use it in business. I use it in my personal life, and I use it to entertain. And I use it to spread the word. Like the funeral for casual sex. What an important message that was.
Right. And people get it.
Right.
Get the serious message through the humor.
USA Today had talk about a sense of humor. They put this big article about the funeral for casual sex and me on the obituary page.
Oh, geez.
But that was, they got it, and so that, that for me was thrilling.
Right.
Not as much as it was that I got national publicity or whatever, but that somebody actually got it and said, let's put this on the obituary page because she's really doing a real funeral. And I did, you know, so, and it's fun. You know, it's very stressful, but it's fun because I'm so worried people are going to come and not have a good time. I worry every party.
Well.
I'm getting too old for that. See? This started when I was in my 20s. I'll tell you why.
And you were stressed back then, too.
Oh, my God. Always.
What, if someone is looking to develop a sense of humor, is that possible, or is it something you're born with, or environmental?
I think it's something that is inherent in your family.
Okay.
My father's funny, different than I. My father is a shocker more than he is funny, and whereas my brother is very quiet. So I think I got that part from him, and the rest I think was that I developed it as a way to get through life. So I think how would you do it? You'd have to, you know, put yourself in a very stressful situation.
Right.
God forbid, I don't wish it on anyone. But start to look at the lighter side. You know, people have to take things a little bit less seriously. That's the first step. I can't, if I worried, and I do. I mean, it's like I'm saying I don't, but I do. I worry about every single thing, but then I'll make a joke about it. I'll say, you know, oh my God, if the plants don't come, you know, this client is going to be and then I say, well, but then you know what, bury me at so-and-so. You know, I always add on a line, you know, and then everybody laughs, and that's how I get through my stress.
So if someone were trying to develop that practice, do they have to think quickly on their feet, or is it something that just, if they go from the negative to the positive, that helps?
You know, and I don't know. I mean, I know I developed it, but maybe I honed it. You know, I really can't tell you. Maybe it was always there, you know, because like my marketing sense of, you know, let's tie this with this and do that, that's something that's inherent in me, you know, and I think some people have it and some people don't. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I took what I had because of my father and his humor and my family's humor, because I had a very funny uncle as well, and I made it into my own brand, and that's how I, you know, kind of put my hand out because I was too shy to say, hi, Doug, I'm Sherri Foxman. I still go to networking events and just stand there. I can't walk up to people I don't know. I mean, is that the most ridiculous
well, we
thing?
need to go to one.
Yeah. But the fact is that, you know, so I don't know if I developed it or honed it. But certainly I know that people take life too seriously, you know, especially, you know, when someone gets upset. I remember one time someone told me I ruined their daughter's bat mitzvah because the person who worked for me, the guy had gone back and forth about balloons for the centerpieces, and she was so confused she didn't order the balloons because he couldn't make up his mind. We ruined his daughter's life because she didn't have balloons in her centerpieces.
Okay,
now you have to laugh about it, but I didn't sleep all night that night because that's who I am. But, you know.
So the humor really is a form of a pressure valve.
Right. It definitely is a pressure valve. I mean, I'll go from something terrible to doing a whole routine about it. You know, I mean, a whole routine.
Have
like
you ever,
my kidney, I just recently had a kidney stone, okay? And I've been having some eye problems, but I went from being in so much pain, till I've got the nurses and the doctors sitting there going, are you always funny like this? You know, so, and I was like on, you know, like death's bed. I mean, I had literally a kidney stone the size of your head, and they had to operate. And the doctor said to me, you know, you have a 40% chance of passing it and a 10% chance of living through it. I thought, this is my kind of guy, you know. So, yeah, that's just how I tolerate things. And at the same time, I feel good because I got, you know, if I have the doctors in there laughing, if they're laughing in the operating room before they operate on me, I feel a lot better than if they're
doing okay.
I feel a lot better than if they're saying, this woman is such a nasty broad.
Right, right. And then what happens after that, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah,
exactly.
Well, they forget to do all that, the anesthesia and stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Sherri, have you ever thought of doing stand-up comedy?
I did do stand-up. I went to New York.
Okay.
I worked with Friedman, the guy that owns the comedy, the Brick Comedy Club. I can't remember the names of them. He's also out in California, the Comedy Store. I took lessons from him. He told me I was a naturally funny person, and he wanted me to change my delivery to da-da-da, da-da-da, da-da-da. And as you can see, talking to me, that's not who I am. I'm a storyteller.
Right.
And but the first class, I got up and I was in New York, and I was staying with a friend who works for Fox News, and everybody was on me. Sherri, you got to do this. You got to do this. You're so funny. Blah blah blah. So I stood up in class. You know, they said introduce yourself, and I said, yeah. And last night I was the accessory to a victim. And they said, what do you mean? I said, well, we were walking down the street and we got robbed. And I said, I had on a fanny pack, but my coat was over it. And my friend, they grabbed him, put his hand around his neck, and they said, she's going to be hurt if you don't give us your money. And I said, and he dropped the bagels. And I said, so I just stood there as an accessory to a victim. I mean, what is, I went into this whole thing about it, and everybody's laughing. And then afterwards, he calls me over. He goes, oh my God, and then tried to change me. So I did the comedy night, and I went and did my thing, and I came in second, I think. And then I went home and said, I'll never do this again. No, because I'm too thin-skinned. You can't be thin-skinned and be a comic. Because, then I would never sleep. It's bad enough being a party planner, and I'm worried about it. So, but I did try it. And if you could put a dinner table on a stage, and you and I could sit on a stage, and there'd be an audience out there, that's why I love doing TV. Yeah. Oh, I love doing, when I would go on and do these shows, oh my God, I did, what's his name? Who was the former mayor of Cincinnati? That has the show, that wild show.
Oh, Jerry Springer.
Jerry Springer. I did him like 3 times. Geraldo, I did. If I can make the cameraman laugh, for me, that's like I did my job, because they've seen it all.
Right.
So I love that. But I don't want to get up and just deliver like jokes. It's just not my style.
Right.
So I might have missed my calling there, Doug.
I don't know.
Maybe
with this film crew here, we can get you into it. I kind of like the idea of the table.
We could just do this. We could have 30 minutes with Sherri.
There we go. Okay. We've had Dr. Paul Bizjack on here as a guest, and he talked about positive attitude. And it seems to me that humor is pretty closely tied with positive attitude. Do you see a difference, or does humor overtake positive attitude, or does humor get us to positive attitude?
Humor, for me, gets me to the positive attitude.
Okay.
Because if I don't joke about some of the stress, then I can't get over the hump of, oh my God, I'm worried sick, or oh my God, this is a cluster, or oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
Right.
So then I start letting off my stress by saying, oh well, if this doesn't work, we'll do da-da-da. Everybody laughs, and I get the people around me are more comfortable. I'm still a bundle of nerves and a noodle, because I'm like thinking, oh my God, but the people around me think, oh, Sherri stays so calm, it's amazing. And inside I'm just a mass of worry.
So it's a little bit of a coverage too, right?
Yeah. So for me, humor gets me over that hump.
Okay. So go back, if you would, and talk about it must be Prozac, 8 million reasons why half the world is on Prozac.
It must be the Prozac. It must be the Prozac. Well, I 20 years ago, 25 years ago maybe, and not afraid to admit this on TV, I had always had this like sinking feeling in my stomach, and I was seeing a therapist, and she said, I want to put you on Prozac. And I said, absolutely not. I don't take drugs, and that's just it. And I was also having a pain problem, what they called back then and still called, that muscle problem, which I think is whatever. But so she said to me, after like 6 weeks, they're using Prozac for pain. And I said to her, they are? And she said, yeah. And I was in so much pain getting up and down, and it was some type of virus. And so I said, all right, maybe I'll consider it. So I finally decided, all right. And I said, well, I'll tell you what, 3 weeks. And I said, and if it doesn't work, I'm off this drug in a heartbeat. So the first week I came in, and she said, how do you feel? I said, the same. I still have that weight in my stomach. I'm still walking around gray and stuff. No one knew, because I was funny and stuff like that. The second week I come in, she goes, how do you feel? I said, the same. I said, you've got 1 week. I walk in the third week. She said, how do you feel? I said, I'm never going off this drug. Ever. Ever. And to this day, I still take the same amount, but it made me even. It totally made me even. But at the beginning of it, when I first got rid of that heavy feeling, I was a little loose, with my money. Let me just say, not the other way, with my money. And I went to Bloomingdale's, and literally in one day, it was this friend of mine named Marty, who was my friend at the time, and boyfriend type thing. And he takes me to Bloomingdale's, and I spent $10,000 on my American Express card, and it was the Prozac. So that's the title, It Must Be the Prozac, because I was doing things, because I had this freedom all of a sudden. I didn't have that gray cloud hanging over me, and I didn't care that people thought I was on a drug. I didn't, because that's not who I am. I'm not going to, I am saying on television I take Prozac. Okay, fine, I take Prozac, and I'm happy. And it doesn't change my personality. All it did was take out that kind of heaviness that I used to walk around with.
Sherri, we're getting ready to wind down here. If you could give us in 1 minute or less your major strategies for success and what you would suggest to our viewing audience, what would it be?
My major strategy is to do anything for your client, to always say yes.
And to the genuine populace?
Right, to be genuine, using your word, and to do whatever you can to succeed at making either the client happy or the people around you happy, and never say no. And that, that's a good thing for me and a bad thing for me. Because, a lot of times I should say no and I don't say no, and that's why I get overwhelmed and all of that. But I think that your business thrives when you are there for your client, because they're never going to go anyplace else, and if they try to, they can't replace you.
And that's true with your friends also.
Yes.
In
real
life.
If you look around me at how many people are around me that support me, it's amazing to me. And they say, "Well, you're such a good friend." I go, "What do I do?" I don't even know what it is exactly I do.
Well, and I think
I just feel very
part
blessed
of the
and
answer
lucky.
to that is you're you.
I guess so.
And funny and helpful and just the humor.
And it goes back to insecurity of, I want everyone to like me and love me, and and that goes back to the days when we moved to Shaker, and I went from having all sorts of friends to having no friends.
Well,
it all developed from
and
there.
I'm sure everybody does love you. And Sherri, thank you so much for being here today. It certainly was a pleasure.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for letting me be funny.
What is it that causes an otherwise rational person to answer his or her cell phone every time it rings? That's called classical conditioning. And back in the 1920s, a guy by the name of Pavlov did an experiment with dogs, where when he rang a bell, the dogs would start to salivate. Classical conditioning, pure and simple. Well, in today's modern world, when one goes to a restaurant and someone has to answer their cell phone during the course of a meal, it's rather distracting. So recently I came across a solution to this. It's called cell phone stacking. And here's the idea. If you are out to dinner with a group of people, the whole idea is for everyone to put their cell phones, to stack them, if you will, in the middle of the table. And then when one of the cell phones rings, whoever is the first person to answer gets to pick up the tab for everyone for the whole meal. I think that's an ingenious situation. What about you?